Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Ripster Daily Trade Recaps and Teachings. Another good start of the week, guys. Was done with most of trades early in the morning. Before I start, quick introduction to anybody who's new to me, my Twitter, my YouTube, or my community. These are the trade recaps and teachings from the trades we take in the community. Any trade I don't take or I take, but any trade that I'm guiding the community, we're going to talk about those, and we're going to try to learn from the trades. What was the setup? Why did we trade it? How did we make money? Why did we lose money? How to make it a repeatable setup when you are specifically day trading, swing trading, or anything else in the stock market using stocks and options. Every day, a few hours before the market open, me and my team, we are up early. We go through all the news sources, and we create what we call as a stock game plan for the day. Based upon those game plan, then we trade it on the day. The game plan gives us an initial bias, but based upon our support and pivot levels, we trade it throughout the day. Today, Boeing, AMD, Reddit, Baidu, UAL, SMCI were few of the names that were on our watch list or our game plan. We will go through them as well and see how they panned out as well. Not only that, I also create what I call as a day 2 setups, day 2 or day 3 setups. This is a trading strategy that I invented based upon the recent news movers last 2 days or last day or last 3 days. We keep eyes on them, so we will watch them as well based upon our day 2, day 3 rules. There's a quick overview of this day 2, day 3 rules you can see in the snapshot. And then we also have something we call create levels for everyone: SPY, QQQ, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Tesla. So these are the plays we play every day based upon these levels and EMA Cloud system support and resistance. We can long or short, take calls or puts in the community. This is what I provide every day as well to the traders, so they can trade based upon these levels. So that was the quick introduction. I do go on voice first few hours of the market open. I'm on the voice guiding the community through the trades, through the setups. All these repeatable setups I cover in detail in my community webinar, or you can sign up there and watch those. But also, if you watch my YouTube recaps or if you follow me on Twitter or my free website, you understand most of these as I show you every day, the recaps and the time-stamped comments. And I will show you my commentary, but I can't show you what I was speaking, but most of it I try to cover in my alerts tab, where I do a commentary about these trade ideas. So let's start. So the first one we're going to cover is MASI. So let's look at what was the news on MASI. The MASI news was it jumps on a proposed plan of a spin-off on consumer business. The news was okay, nothing crazy, right? It's jumping on plan spin-off. Our support was 146, 148, resistance pivot was 155. The plan was that if it breaks 146, there's a little typo here. The plan was that if it breaks 146, then it's a gap fill. If it holds 146, we can long it. So that was the plan. So there was two kind of setups we were looking at: either setup gap and go, or gap fill. So let's see what happens as soon as the market opens. Also remember, MASI had this 150 psychological level as well. That was a big level as well. As soon as the market opens, I see it breaking the clouds. So when it is breaking the clouds, it's breaking this 512 cloud, then it's always pulls to 3450 cloud, right? So it's always a B minus short when it's pulling down. So I tell my community that if it stays heavy, we will short it, right? It's still over the 3450 clouds, but it's under those 150 level, the big psychological level. We really need to break it down this side, and then we can risk over 150 or risk previous 10-minute candle. We can short it, right? And then it breaks the cloud, breaks the bear flag, and I'm on the voice. I told everyone it's a short. Then to confirm the gap fill, it has to break the clouds, right? So then it breaks the 148, and then it breaks the 146. Both the levels that I gave in the pre-market breaks down, and then we go into the gap fill. So it goes into the gap fill. Our first target is always 0.05 Fibonacci, you know, and then it breaks that, then it goes to 0.61 Fibonacci, which I draw from the market close to the 2 days highs. You know, you can draw it anywhere here, like 2 days opening highs or something like that. So then it goes there, and then even it breaks that 142, it fades further. So so it keeps fading. There was a buy at 140 which held it up for a minute, then it gave up 140 as well. So somebody asked me, is it still a short? The point is, it's still a short. It's still heavy. You know, it's still going to fill the gap fill. But would your entry be good? Now, if you're chasing the entry here, once when it has faded like $10 and went into consolidation, you don't have a good entry because, you know, it's going sideways. Yes, you can short the pops to this 6.61 Fibonacci, but then you are getting this couple of dollars fade. But somebody who shorted it here, here, has much better risk reward. Look at when I started talking about, look at the pre-market plan. I clearly said, even if you were late, right? Even if let's say you were late, I have been watching it for short even before we weren't there. You can always do a starter and you can add into your position when the cloud is breaking down. And then MASI went, it's so much, you know, since we started talking about from 150s, 151s, 148, 146. So MASI was almost easy to get a $10 fade. The options were a little spready on it. I did not trade them, but this was a definitely trade that one and done, but you have to hold it, right? If you are risking $2 or $3 to short it here, and then you just cover it here and you go home, you know, you leave so much money on the table. So that's not how it works. You need to make sure you capitalize on this and you hold your winners. You know, if you're $1,000 short, you cover 500 there, 300 there, 200 there, and then you ride some runners all the day. I keep saying ride runners all day, ride runners all day. So that was MASI, guys. Pre-market planning, A+ gap fill setup. I did a short video. If you're my YouTube follower, I did a short video that how this is the most profitable setup. You can just do nothing and wait for your gap fill setup, that one day you have a big gap up and you fade it, right? So that, and also the news was, if news was really crazy, you know, it would have been good. The news was okay, but then our technicals told us 512 breaks, 3450 breaks, Ripster clouds are bearish. Everything told us that it's a bearish. So that's how you trade that. So next one we are going to talk about is Boeing. So let's go back and look at our Boeing trade. So let's first go to see what was the plan on Boeing, right? So Boeing was gapping up. They did some management changes. CEO was stepping down. Support was 191, 192, and resistance was 197, 200. Boeing was little extended, right? And there was a resistance at 200. I was looking for a B- short scalp. I clearly explained this in my pre-market prep that 200 is always a big psychological level. You know, it's little extended based upon the news. And if I see the failures, then it will be a B- scalp. If you do not understand what this B- A+ is, you need to go back, you know, watch all my other videos or go back study on my ripstereducation.com. These are the setups based upon the EMA Cloud. So this was a B- short at open. So you know, I'm going to add this into my webinars as well. These are scalp setups, right, which can turn into the trend. So anyways, so BA was breaking 512 right at open. I saw that. I saw it break that at 932. I told everyone it's breaking 512s. So it's going to pull, right? So right here, I saw it breaking that level of morning levels. So it was breaking down right at morning. So that tells me that you can scalp it, right? You can risk $1 and you can scalp it to the 3450 clouds, and that's what happened, right? By 10 a.m. we were at 190, right, from 194. So you could easily scalp like $3 and risking like $1 or $1.50, one risk to 3 reward. So that was the trade that we were talking about in the morning. Nothing crazy, nothing super size. You know, we were just trying to get that gap fill at least to 3450, because that's why I was talking about the rejection in the pre-market prep. So this was a decent scalp. I don't always do these scalps, but I could tell from the price action, and I could tell from this extension between the clouds and how the resistance was up top at 200s. I could tell that we are going to fade and on the news, and you see we almost fill most of the gap there. So next one we're going to talk about is, guys, LULU, one of our big winners on Friday. You guys saw that, we recapped it as well. So LULU was a day too short once again. Once again, it was a day too short, repeatable setup. How more stress-free can it be, right? It's a day two bearish short setup. So I've been teaching this day two, day one setups for a long time. If you go back, LULU was on top of our day-to-day setups. Here are the rules. If it's under the clouds, if it's under the levels, it's a day too short, right? So we have all these levels risk there. 400 gave up, 402 gave up, then 387 was the target. Let's see. So as soon as market open, LULU opens bearish under the bearish cloud. So I'm watching. Then it confirms me the short once it breaks 400, and that's where you can short it. You either can add a starter, wait for a bounce, or you can add a position, risk $2-3 over the clouds. Your levels are pretty clear, right? So I gave you these levels, pretty clear levels, and that's what LULU did, right? So LULU faded from 400. My target was 387. Did we meet it? Yeah, almost, right? So almost it closed to the yesterday's lows. Same thing, right? So it was yesterday's lows was what? 387.11. Today's was 387.05. So you can see my guidance. In the morning only I gave the two targets, 390 and 387. In the morning I gave the two targets, right? So it was going sideways. I said add the pops. 394 little buyer. So I tell them there's a buyer at 394. Little cautious, but it never turned over the clouds. It's never turned out. It was still bearish, but 394 buyer was keep swiping here. So it was keep swiping it. It's still bearish, but you just need to manage your positions. Only reason I say that, if you keep adding here, that's not good. You need to add at the pops. And I said if it curls over 512, then we will cut it. But it never curled over 512s, right? And if it clears 394, it's going to fade more. And that's what it did, right? It cleared 394 and then it met our target 387. So all targets met on LULU. Just you had to manage it effectively, right? System is there. It's almost a $10 short, $10-12 short. How you trade it, that's up to you. How you manage that trade, that's up to you. LULU puts again our spready. I didn't need the options on that. Would have paid really nicely. So the setup is there. You just need to manage that setup accordingly, and how you do it. That's what really matters. So next one I'm going to talk about is SMCI, right? So SMCI, let's just go back and look at our morning plan. SMCI, overweight by JP Morgan, price target increase. I'm only interested if it holds the cloud. If it's holding the clouds, that's when I'm interested in. And right away, I saw a lot of bullish flow coming in at the open. Lot of bullish flow that started to come in. And if you go back, look at my levels. We can look at both the levels, right? 974. Then there was the other level that I gave in the pre-market sheet, 9675. Both of those levels, they broke out, right? They broke out of this, and then it breaking out of that yesterday's highs. At this point, you can just take a small starter based on the flow. Again, next few trades that you're going to see are based upon the flow. Semiconductor was strong. I tweeted about that in the morning as well, because if you see that, let me see, right? I tweeted about that as well. 1K breakout with a lot of flow. That was even later, but in my community, I was talking about it much earlier, that the money is flowing into the semiconductors. Lot of options coming in. That's what gives conviction. I told everybody on Voice on Community that this is the longs. It's going to go, right? So bullish flow. I said long over the pivot. make sure to lock on the way. The target I gave 1050, next target I gave 1063, and all the targets met for us. All the targets met. And finally, when it breaks 512, you get out. If you made really good money, you're profitable, you leave a little bit, right? So look at that. 1 hour was also bullish. So always look at the 1 hour. So 1 hour on SMC has turned bullish. So that's something to note. 1 hour is bullish, 10 minute is bullish, and look at that. The daily is also turning bullish. So that's why high probability long setups coming in. Daily bullish, 1 hour bullish, option flow coming in, breaking the psychological levels. Doesn't get better than that. So that was an SMCI, SMCI long winner. So I was just talking about how, when you have these bullish confluences, right? When everything is bullish and there is flow, that makes it the trade really, really high probability trade. Just wanted to reiterate that fact that it makes this trade, news catalyst bullish, daily bullish, sector bullish, option flow, psych levels. It makes it a high probability long trade, right? We saw there's a news as well. So, so very proud of this one. This was a great trade for the whole community. Now let's go to our next trade, that was AMD, right? So for AMD, our morning plan was a little different, right? So the morning plan on AMD was bearish bias. But remember, we have a pivot levels, we have support levels, 172.50, 171. So as soon as the market opened, AMD pushes, right? It did not break the pre-market lows. That means there's a buyer, right? So I did not short it because it held the pre-market lows and it moved over 512 EMA Clouds. And then it pushed over the 3450 EMA Clouds. That's when I said no short. Right, so we have a plan. So we did have a plan. Both on AMD and Intel. So we had a plan on both. But doesn't mean that if we have a plan and we will blindly short it, because it pushes over our pivots, specifically the AMD. Right, so specifically the AMD that I wanted to talk about, and we can throw the Intel as well. I didn't trade Intel, but I traded AMD. So when we traded AMD, it turned bullish over 3450 cloud. That's when I wanted to long it. So that's when 175 becomes our risk, right? 175, watch pullbacks, that becomes our risk. And I said it's going to fill the gap. It is going to fill the gap. I told everybody right away that it's going to fill the gap, right? It was what? We were at 10 a.m. We were still trading at 176. And I told everyone that we were going to fill the gap. And then that's what happened. AMD pushed into that one cent gap fill, then it pushed more. I sold my calls for 50%. I was a little late, but again, the flow was coming in, semiconductor was strong. So that's how, and right here it told you that's bullish and we are in the gap fill. So the AMD setup was gap down gap fill over the clouds. Just change the gap fill upside down, and this was the setup. It was gap down, gap fill long winner, right? So it was a gap fill long. So that's what it was. And that was, that was similarly was Intel. So I gave the warning, no shorts, right? So no shorts means no shorts, and the sector is strong. So you have to long it. So AMD was a decent winner for me. I personally traded AMD, so I did a little good on that. So let's go to the next one. So next we're going to look at NVDA. So NVDA was the same thing, right? NVDA was the same thing as the sector was flowing out. So I'm talking about how the sector was strong. I was looking at my sector analysis tab that was showing me that how NVDA is strong. There were two sectors which are strong: crypto, which we'll talk next, and then there was this NVDA. And for NVIDIA, let's go back to our levels, right? What were the levels I gave? The levels were 948, 949 or 954. So those were two levels. And first of all, it breaks out of the cloud, and then it breaks out of the pre-market highs. So your risk initially is always that cloud, this area is always your initial risk, and then you add into that. And SMCI was breaking out, AMD was going. I said here that NVIDIA breakout will follow SMCI. so it will follow SMCI. And then NVIDIA broke out of HOD, and then 974 was my target. That's fine, we got some 967s. And then once it breaks that 512, I told everyone that's breaking 512s. You see this price alert coming in at 1155s, and it broke here, and then it faded like almost 8-9 points. So that's where you cut, take profits, and you can even scalp B minus shorts when it breaks this 512 clouds. So you know, repeatable setup, repeatable guidance. All the best trade, although was NVIDIA and SMCI was much better, but we did good in AMD and SMCI were better, but we did good in NVIDIA as well, so was solid. So next I'm going to talk about coin and MSTR. So again, we go back to our pre-market plan. Let's see what was the plan. The coin 266 was the breakout, 260 was support pivot. As you know, as Bitcoin was bouncing. So every day we trade coin and, you know, MSTR. Every day they are on our watch list. You know, so you see big move on there. So coin was same. I saw MSTR calls coming in, and I was on the voice and told community that the calls are coming in, and then coin breaks out of that you know, 265 level. That's the breakout level that I gave in the pre-market, 266, and that's a good scalp all the way to 284s. And also the coin was out of this, you know, look at this, the coin was out of that range breakout, you know, all-time high range breakout. So that was another setup on the daily chart on coin. So this was a nice breakout. There was a decent scalp on the long side. I mean, these are just crazy opportunities we have right now in the market, guys. Everything is running, coin and bitcoins and all these semiconductors. They just keep running. And as long as our system tells us to long them, we will long them. You see that how the opportunities were in SMCI yesterday, earlier, and now how the opportunities was in coin and MSTR. MSTR was again all flow. It was all bullish flow in the morning, and that MSTR went from 1625s over yesterday's highs, similar breakout as coin, all the way to 1900. You know, they're expensive on the options side, but all you need is like 100 shares to have a good day, right? This one went what, 1650s all the way to you know, 1900s even, you know, so you don't need much to trade these. So, you know, so good. You know, we were, you can see the guidance here, coin MSTR both breaking out. Was on the voice. My focus was mainly on those semiconductors, and so many plays. You know, you can't play everything, you just need to play one. So there's so many opportunities. Even if you pick one, it should work for you, right? So let's go to the next. So Nike was the loser today. It was kind of faked me out. It was pushing out of the clouds. Again, it was an amateur move. I told everyone that's a good long, but it rejected and came back under the clouds. So the longs was kind of a loser there, but could have shorted it. But again, there was not much risk reward. It went into the choppy side. Day two, look at this indecision candle. So don't know what Nike wants to do. There's not much range, you know, small range stock. And so that was a loser here. Failed day two. So this was a failed day two long. Next, I want to talk about Reddit. So Reddit was a lot of today they opened the options on Reddit. It was on our watch list. It was also a day two, day three. You see IPO day three. That was the setup, and the pivots was 45.50. I said if the clouds hold, we long, and that's what it did, right? It held the clouds. It was bullish right out of the gate, and it was out of that pivot levels, and it was pushing. And remember, when it IPO'd, I talked about 50 psychological level. It's all about staying long over 50 and short under 50. If you watch my previous videos, you know, lot of DMs I got, a lot of my new followers actually traded Reddit based upon the 50 psychological level. Very simple concept. There's nothing special about that. When you see it breaking 50, you take a position, you put your stops at, you know, maybe right here at 48, and you $2 stops, and you trade that 50 breakout. If you were not in from the morning, 45.50 level, that was kind of the breakout level. This is your risk, 45.50 to long at the open. But the options were on catalyst. I was not like fully focused. So many trades in the morning. That's why I didn't really personally fully focus on it. but if I would have definitely sized pretty big size on there. We already had some good winners in the morning, so we didn't need to trade everything. But Reddit was definitely one which helped a lot of traders. You can see in the community they really did good. Reddit and ALAB, the IPO, another IPO. My IPO rules is once it's over the highs, IPO highs, it pushes, right? That's my IPO rule. I often teach that IPO high lows are the important levels. So both of these were decent plays, Reddit and ALAB, but more on Reddit than ALAB. But this is the market that you should capitalize on, guys. These are the plays that should, such a hot market. I don't know when was the last time I saw this. So just want to quickly talk about Meta. So Meta was weak in the morning, and I was trying to short scalp it, but I knew there's a 500 support, and that's what I told everyone. There was a 500 support. So if it breaks, it'll fade more, but if it holds, it can bounce back. So if you look at it, I was talking about Meta early in the morning, and Meta went to 500, and then it bounced from 500. I had some short right away. When it bounced, I got out. So it's important to understand the importance of levels, right? If it's holding and swiping back, you need to get out. Everything was heavy this morning. I did not trade them short or long Apple because these names had news. These were under our pivots, and you can see that how they were heavy in the morning, but then they recovered. The good thing is, we didn't touch them longs, or we didn't, no longs. That's fine. We don't want this setup because we don't know how low it can go. We don't want to long that. We want to stick with the good setups. So you see what NVIDIA and others are doing. These setups are low probability and less rewarding than the other long setups. And on the short side, if QQQ is strong, we know that it's going to swipe right back into our face, just like Meta did, right? So just something to keep eyes on. Google, Apple, Meta, they all swiped at the same time and brought the market back up. So that's when you need to step away from that short side when it's pushing like that after the after the first amateur move, after the first 10-minute candles is trying to hold the level, it's going to be a little hard for there. That's why we avoided it. I tried to short Meta and then I left it because market was bouncing. Let's look at few other ones. So there was UAL, which was our day 2 short. So UAL was a day 2 short, good one for small accounts. So UAL was a short in the morning. Let's go back and see what was the plan on UAL. The plan was neutral bias, support was 45. So once it breaks that 45, it's bearish, right? It was bearish for me right away when it broke the 45, and then I said if it breaks 44, it can fade more. It breaks 44 and then it fades more, then the buyer comes in here, right? My target was actually that 43.40, but there's a buyer at 43.50, 43.50, 43.50. So that's where you get out when this candle comes up. This was mainly a trade here or here. When you're here, 44 break, your stops should be break even. That's what I told everyone. Stops break even. Either you make more or you get out with what you have made. So you see that how the base is making base and coming back up, you get out. So you just need to have the visibility how the trades are working. There's another one we're going to recap. That's FedEx. So FedEx, what was up with the FedEx? FedEx was a day 2 short, right? It was in the day 2 gap. Yesterday it held this Fibonacci level all day, but today it gave up, right? 1 hour is bearish, 1 hour is going to 3450 clouds, and that's when I said you can short it, right? Our best short was the pop, and 278 was important level. This area 278, 278.50. This is a 6.61 Fibonacci level. So you can't, when it starts to hold here, you need to get out. Your best entries are here, right at open. Those are your best entries on such or the rejections. This is your best entry. These are the tough entries because your risk is higher and you need to get out as soon as it reclaims 512s. So it's not, if you were fast, then you got like what, 281, 278, 50. You got few dollars there, but you cannot get biased when it's holding a certain level and recovering it. You cannot short here when stock is already down $3 and then lose, right? So focus on your best risk reward entries. So another two I'm going to just discuss is these are our midday setups. So Adobe was a midday flag breakout idea, so I can show you guys here. So this was the flag that Adobe was making in the middle of the day. I said flag watch versus 500, right? So you can risk that. Ideally you risk these clouds or low of the candles, but for 500 is the maximum risk. That's little too much loss. Where were we? 1048s. We were right here, right? 504.50s. So ideal risk was the clouds or low of this candle, but the point we were trying to play was this flag breakout, this downtrend. If I draw it nicely, you can see that there's a nice flag, and that flag breakout ended up hitting 510. So it was kind of 1-to-1 risk reward, nothing crazy. So you can see there what my idea mentioned. Idea of our community is showing the setups, how they work out, and not just alert services giving entry and exits, but you can still see the ideas working nicely. Not bad for a midday. So next one we're going to discuss is Tesla. So Tesla, the idea was the midday curl. Did not trade the Tesla in the morning. So let's see, because it had a big extension, right? Big extension right at the open. So we had a big extension right at the open, and then it pushed, and I didn't even watch it, right? If you were trading at the open, if you use the levels that I gave, 170, 117, that's good. You did the amateur breakout, that's good for you. But when I saw it come back all the way to clouds, the clouds gave me a very nice midday 3450 curl setup. We talk about this setup in details in my webinars. We talk about these setups a lot. So when it curls there, that's your risk area, this 170. So look what I said. Pause and read. Midday 3450 curl setup on the watch. But we were also keeping eyes on the market and see how the QQQ is doing. But Tesla kind of worked better than QQQ. Had a relative strength. So idea was working on that midday curl. And that idea went on to hit 173 from there was 11 o'clock. That from 170.50, the calls moved decent. I have to check how much did I do on those calls, but I had those 170 calls. I will check and I will post in the screenshots. But so that's what the plan was. The final target was 174, but it breaks 512. That's where you get out. But it was a decent midday repeatable setup. Tesla was the midday 3450 curl setup. Next one I'm going to discuss is Micron. I personally kind of missed it. It was supposed to be my day 3 setup. I have no clue how I missed it. Put on my morning watch list. It has been my main focus. Although I'm glad that a lot of traders in community were able to do good on the Micron. A lot of traders were on it. Yes, Kathy was on it. But here's the thing. Same sector, right? SMCI, NVDA, AI chips, all are the same sector. And, so you pick anything. And that was wrong. And that's why when I talked about the semiconductor sectors, I in the morning when we was on voice, that these 4 are the main ones: NVIDIA, ARM, Micron, SMCI. So these were the main ones which were going, and even ARM was ARM. I gave ARM idea as well in the morning, but my main focus were these plays. So Micron, Micron was day 3 setup. If I gave the level, I would have given this level right here at 111. But even if we were late, right, we started to talk about it late. I tweeted about it as well, and even at that time it was 114, 117. We were talking about Micron on the voice. You see, I had a price alert on Micron 114.12. So I had this price alert because this was the IPO. This was the all-time high all-time high breakout. That's the reason I had the price alert here. You could see there, and from that price alert it went another $7-8. So it's all about, you know, being top of everything, understanding. We did really good on SMCI, AMD and all those. So I personally didn't trade Micron, but I'm glad a lot of the traders in the community really did good there, right? So SMCI was big, Blue Zenith did good on on Micron, and you know, so Siva did good. So a lot of traders were on Micron today, and definitely a beast. What you really need to look at it, if you remember after the earnings, I gave this idea versus 100. This is what, and I like this name as investing name as well. Any pullback to this area, 100 ever, this would be a long investing idea with the risks, not a bad risk down under there. So anyways, guys, I'm sorry for a little long video. Just had to discuss few things. Definitely this is a hot market. It's a great hot market. You should capitalize on it. If you want to trade with us, do join the community. I think we have a Easter promo coming up tomorrow. So make sure you get use of it, and come for ideas and education. Do not come for alerts. See you later. Bye-bye.